Hello and welcome to Game and Read. My name is Peter.
And I'm Erin.
And we are doing our inaugural Friday Reads episode for this podcast series. This is something that we did back before. I know it is a common booktube, if I'm not correct, Erin.
Correct. Friday Reads is you tell people what you're reading on Friday. It's a pretty standard piece of the booktube, bookstagram, online book community.
Right, and we thought we could turn this into a nice kind of weekly dip in because we miss, podcasting sometimes where we're down in the weeds of getting through the next game and the next book, and I don't think we can do more of those right now, so we're going to stick with something a little bit shorter format, around a half hour here. We're just going to have a few recommendations as well as talking about what we are reading and playing this coming weekend. Now, Erin, since this is a Friday Reads podcast, I want to hear from you, since you are the reading half. As everyone knows, I'm illiterate.
False, but okay.
Well, functionally illiterate. I can sound out the words as we go along. But I want to know, what are you reading this particular Friday?
I'm going into this weekend with The Library of Legends by Janie Chang. This is a historical fiction / magical realism novel. It is set in 1937-1938 China. It's at the beginning of the Second Sino-Japanese War. Japan was invading China, and so it's the beginning of this conflict. And it follows some university students who are fleeing Nanking for Western China. They are trying to get away from the invasions and get safety in Western / interior China, as far away from the East Coast as they can.
This is the part of World War II Americans often don't know quite as much about.
Exactly.
It doesn't involve the U.S.
Correct. So, Library of Legends, like I said, it follows these university students, and the particular group has been tasked with carrying the Library of Legends with them. It is a encyclopedia of Chinese myths and legends, and it's the original copies. So, these are reprinted and things. They're very popular, but this particular university has the originals, and so they have to carry them their thousands of miles to safety. I really wanted this book to live up to the premise. I think it's a fascinating premise. I think there is a lot of really interesting magical realism elements. It so far is focused on relationships, wartime, some very political things with the National Party and the Communist Party. So there's a lot of really cool elements, but at this point I don't love it. The characters are okay. There's sort of 3 main characters you're following, and they're fine.
One question I do have for you, is this originally published in English, or is this a translated work?
It is published in English.
Okay.
I believe Janie Chang is a Chinese-American author. It was originally published in English.
Gotcha.
Her father, it is so interesting because the author's father was a university student in 1937 fleeing Japanese incursion, essentially. And so that was her inspiration for this book. And I just am feeling like there are both too many storylines and not enough substance to any particular storyline, that I don't hate it. The experience is okay, but it's not stellar. I really was hoping for a much more interesting story. The elements of magical realism, some of these legends are manifest in the real world. And I got really excited about that aspect, but it has become much more minor than I thought it was going to be. So that, I really had high hopes. I don't know if I would recommend it. So that's my Friday Reads, The Library of Legends by Janie Chang. I will give an update next week when I have finished it. Peter, what are you playing as we go into this weekend?
Well, outside of the games I got to play for our various pairings, both the one we're working on right now, which is the Yakuza pairing, and the intro will be launching just in a couple days here, as well as getting ready for the next 2 months, because we've picked some fairly long games for September and October, so I probably need to plan ahead for that. But this is my place to throw in some of the more smaller, lighter things I might be playing just for my own spare fun time, other than just my more organized fun time. And right now, I am very interested in this game that just came out, Fall Guys, which has just launched on PS4 and Steam. It is a battle royale, I would say, minigame competition. Just was published by Devolver Digital, and it was actually the PS Plus game, so that's how I ended up getting it, just being a PS Plus member. They're just like, here, have this. And in it, you are put into a group of 60 characters. You're all these cute little, beanie nuggets.
They sort of remind me of, pills.
Yeah, no, they are kind of pill-shaped.
Capsular.
They're like if minions didn't have mouths.
Exactly.
And weren't all yellow. And they go through these kind of little ridiculous challenges, a lot of which are races with obstacles. Some are tag-type games. And as you go through, I think 4 or 5 rounds max, you just eliminate people kind of as you go. Some are, you have to survive this whole round. Some are one team will win, one team will lose. And it's just something you can do in about 10 minutes. It seems to be how long a full round goes if you're from the start all the way to the final round. It's a very fun little game. It's pretty simple, but at the same time I find very adorable and addictive and a little stressful in the fun way.
You say simple, and yes, it is simple, but it is also hard as hell. I tried. I played maybe 3 rounds. It's so simple in theory.
Well, and I think some games I find to be a little bit more fun than others, and obviously when you lose, it doesn't feel fun per se. But I've gotten 1 total victory under my belt, and I'm very proud of that, and I want to build on that. I've been in the final round several times, so I think I'm solid at this game, but we'll see how much the curve changes as people play a bit more and get used to it. So I'm just really curious to see where this game could go if it has sustained success over a while. I know on the first day, if you've heard of this, you probably have also heard about the server errors they've been having because they had a lot higher volume than they were expecting. But I think that's also just kind of what happens when you throw a cute multiplayer game on a free service like PS or a paid-for service like PS Plus. The other game that I will be exploring and getting into, a friend of ours just out of nowhere gave us a copy of Dreams for the PS4, so I'm going to plan on going through that. If you're unfamiliar, Dreams is a kind of a creator studio, like a fan-made creator studio by Media Molecule, the same studio that made the Little Big Planet series of games. So they're all about kind of giving creativity tools, and in it you can craft a lot of different 2D and 3D game experiences that can then be shared out to all these people in both standard play and VR. And I've only opened it for a little while and played a couple of different things, but I'm very curious to see what sort of creations are out there and try and find some. I'm sure there's some very talented people making fun, creative things. And also, I am curious to explore just how intuitive the creation is. I'm not always the best at making stuff. I know, when I got the first Mario Maker game, I mostly got it to play Mario levels and not to make Mario levels. But I'd be very curious with a more open system for creating things if I am able to, or what kind of the time requirement would be to make something that I would consider fun and worthwhile and shareable. But I'll be exploring that some, and then I guess I'll touch on these next week. Hopefully get a few more victories in Fall Guys too. The second second and final segment of our Friday Reads will be a recommendation from each of us. So this is something that we have either read or played before, and that, we just throw out there and be like, hey, if you're looking for something to read or play, maybe give this a shot if you can, or just kind of take it as a mini review. Since we're so busy doing our pairing, it's sometimes hard to fit in all the other games and books we read and play, or the ones we've done over the years. So it's just our chance to kind of throw it out there and be like, hey, remember this one? This was good. So Erin, what is your recommendation for the week? What should people be reading if they have, some free time and some space on their ebook reader?
I am recommending Lucky You by Erika Carter. And this is a novel. I'm pretty sure I talked about it way back in the day. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I guess 3 years ago now when it came out. It is about three acquaintances, friends. They are recent college grads and they are all waitressing at this bar. They're all sort of aimless and stuck in their Arkansas college town. And at the behest of one of the women's boyfriends, the 3 women find themselves living off the grid for a year. They sort of see it as a way to get out of these ruts that they're in and sort of connect with their wants, their desires, their purpose, what to do next, basically. I am recommending this book this week because I think it captures the feelings and struggles of life change. We're still in the middle of a pandemic right now, and I know for me and for, I think, many, many people, this pandemic has upended everything in our lives. Whether it is jobs or just hobbies or relationships or life plans, whatever it is, I think so much has been upended, and we're in this period of uncertainty, physical isolation, right? Like, even if you're seeing people over video chats, or even if you're going picnics in the park, you're isolated. And a pandemic was not a choice. In this book, they choose to go off the grid. So that's a major difference. But I think the author, Erika Carter, really gets into those feelings of just, what do I do now? What do I do in this moment? I've maybe learned some new information about myself, and how do I reconcile that? Or how do I put pieces back together after they've sort of crumpled and fallen apart? And I think she captures that really well. I will also say that this book struck a chord with me when I first read it, because we went to college in Arkansas, in a small Arkansas town. And so that, I think her imagery...
Conway is pretty large by Arkansas town standards.
Fair. In a medium town.
It just wasn't quite a city.
Right. Okay. Fine. Whatever. But she really captures the landscape of Arkansas. If you're at all familiar with the state, she does a really fantastic job of evoking the environment and the feelings. And I think this in particular is in the Ozarks, but it's just, I think, a really lovely, lovely novel. So my recommendation this week is Lucky You by Erika Carter. Peter, what are you recommending on the game side of things?
All right, my recommendation, I was searching to see if I could find anything that was having an anniversary. I know the Dr. Mario anniversary just came around, so play a little bit of that game, especially if you've never actually tried Dr. Mario, because I didn't play it until maybe 5 years ago. Very fun puzzle game.
Crazy.
I know.
I cannot believe it took 23 years of your life to play Dr. Mario.
Yeah, no.
It's an amazing game.
It is. It's a great puzzle game. So that's that. But the last game I was able to finish just totally independent of any of the projects on Game and Read was the platformer game Celeste. And this is a game I would wholeheartedly recommend. I think I would give it like 4 to 4.5, 5-ish stars, somewhere in that range. It is a wonderfully difficult, but at the same time beautiful platformer. It's difficult in that just like the challenges you have if you're playing on the just normal mode, very tough. It took me a lot of tries. I've played a decent amount of platformers. I've played all the Shovel Knight expansions, and I was just having to redo things over and over again. They make it pretty easy to do that. They keep checkpoints relatively short, and they also tally your deaths because it's kind of implied like you're going to die a lot. That's okay. They also have these things, challenge berries, which are just kind of in harder to reach places. And I love how explicit this game is with saying you don't need to get these if you don't want to. If you want to, awesome. But they literally just make you feel accomplished. So choose to do that if you want. It also has a assist mode, so you can just kind of do endless double jumps if you're somebody who wants to just interact with the story. And for a platformer, the story of this game is really sweet and enjoyable. It's all about this woman who, youngish woman, maybe about 20, early 20s, who needs to kind of go on a little journey to find herself. She's just trying to shake up her life a little bit. It seems like she may have had some recent strife or maybe a breakup or something recently. And so she goes to this giant mysterious mountain in Canada called Celeste, and she decides to climb it. And there are various ruins and spirits and kind of mystical things going on this mountain as she kind of progresses. But the real story comes from her own internal development, as well as having to face off against a literal specter of herself and the few other normal humans she interacts with along the way. I thought it was a really enjoyable, like a small but well done story, and one that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see on what is a fairly technical and difficult platformer game. So big thumbs up on that, because it kind of hits those nice notes of things like Oxenfree or Gone Home, but in an actual like technical video game, which is great because that's kind of one of the things those games lack, is kind of the game technical bit.
That's all for the inaugural Friday Reads. We will be back next Friday with more of what we're reading and playing and recommendations. You can find all of our episodes and everything we do at gameandread.wordpress.com, and you can stream us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
And now YouTube. I'm uploading podcasts to YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. I am at NerdInTheWorld. You can also find the Game and Read Instagram that I've been trying to post with some fun photos of my Lego Mario set that I bought.
I am on Twitter at BookishTextPat and on Instagram at A Tale of Two Shelves. Our intro music was written and performed by Avery Murchison, and there is a link to his Bandcamp in the description.
Thanks for listening.
And we'll see you next time.
Game and Read.